Welcome to ThinkTech Hawaii Business Education Spotlight. This is Alice Li Hagan. Today, this is a weekly conversation with inspiring leaders, community-minded citizens, and fascinating professionals locally around the world who contribute to the social well-being of our state. Now today, I have two guests here. One is Bee Leng Chua. She is the Executive Director of HiBeam, which stands for Hawaii Business and Entrepreneur Acceleration Mentors. And joining us is a guest from Hong Kong, Wilton Chua. He is joining us on Skype. Wilton, hi.
Hi, good morning from Hong Kong. Good morning, everybody.
Thank you so much for joining us. So now, Wilton, I know that you've done a lot of things, and currently among the many hats that you wear, you are also a professor of practice in entrepreneurship at the Chinese University in Hong Kong. So I guess for the first segment of our interview, we are really interested in, getting your take on entrepreneurial education, and then later on, we will get Bee Leng to get her insight into this. Unfortunately, we aren't able to get you on Skype, but it's good to hear you as well on the phone. So, Wilton, tell us about why are you involved in entrepreneurial education right now? Because I know that you've done a lot of venture capitalists, you have done a lot of businesses, startups, so tell us about yourself.
Yes, all along I work in the venture capital investment. I have been managing the Singapore government North Asia venture investment for quite a few years. About 7 years ago, I start to somehow want to have some sort of retirement. During my venture investment, we have made quite a few world-leading companies, and I got some money also. So about 7-8 years ago, I thinking about retiring from the industry because it's really tough in the industry. So, but I found that although I have a lot of success, which bring me some money, some fortune, but I found that the most lesson I learned is my failure, because I actually make more failures, much more failures than my success. While I think that the success model is very difficult to repeat, I think that if I can let people know what kind of mistake I made, and they can avoid all the mistakes I have made, probably they have better chance to survive and success in the future. So that's why I start picking up some part-time teaching in my current university and try to tell my students why I fail. Okay.
Wilton, this is amazing, and unfortunately 15 minutes is not going to do justice to all the experiences that you bring to your professorship at Chinese University of Hong Kong. Now, I remember, I think back in October last year, you came to Hawaii to attend the Blue Startup Conference here, and I think when we first met, you mentioned something similar, that you learned a lot, you were successful, but you learned through your failures. So how do you actually integrate this aspect of failure into your teaching right now in the MBA program, in helping these students of yours to become successful investors and entrepreneurs?
Okay, first of all, when we think about a ventures, we always dream about how to start from an idea and develop it and all the way to a public listing so we can make a fortune. That's all along a lot of entrepreneurs thought about that kind of process. But I keep telling all the entrepreneurs that the key is not really, because everybody think about from an idea to a listing. But I think the entrepreneur more concentrate on what we call the execution hurdles, how you can jump from one step to the others. That means, when you how to get the idea to a prototype, how the prototype can test the market, and how you get the related authority to get the approval, and how to do the mass production after sales service. And each of these steps require different kind of skill set. That means you may be a very intelligent, highly intelligent scientist at the beginning that come out an idea, but you may not be the production engineer that can actually do the mass production with minimum fraud rate, something like that. So I tried to build up a model that somehow force my students to think about what sort of executive hurdles they will face in the business model, and try to make it such a way that it's more viable. It's not really more viable, but more forcing them to think through the process.
Okay.
So this is the major teaching in my MBA. Of course, the other part of my MBA course is I also told my students it's no point to join a business plan competition, because a lot of students want to join the international business plan competition, because I told them in the business plan competition there's only one champion.
Okay.
Sorry?
No, that's good. I think it's a great summary of the things that you teach your students, and certainly I wish we would have the opportunity to have you here to teach some of our students here in Hawaii. But I think, Bee Leng, do you have a question for Wilton?
Yeah, I thought what was really interesting is that in the way you teach, you get the students to help an entrepreneur. And basically, this entrepreneur had problems, like they are unable to reach their funding milestones. So the students are, they will help to kind of restructure the business model for this entrepreneur. And the success is great because about 20 to 30% of the projects, they get invested by your network, by your panel of investors. I thought that was very unusual. So what are your points? How did you make this happen? How did you decide that this was the way to go?
Yes. That's actually the second part, because in Hong Kong, a lot of students doesn't have this entrepreneurship experience. So instead of asking them to start a ventures, I actually call on projects from overseas, from Hong Kong, from China, Israel, even as far as Peru. They have all these ventures are existing ventures. They have all along. They're good. They're good, but they have problem in raising money, probably in the past couple of years. So I actually teach my students how to remodel, what I call the remodeling of the existing business. This is some sort of consultancy, but I'm not charging this entrepreneur, because I told them what I need them to do is share their entrepreneurship experience with my students. So my students have a better knowledge about how to start a business, what's the good and bad, and start a business. Of course, after the remodeling, I asked the students to present it to a group of investors. I formed a panel actually called the Pan Asia Venture Development Platform, what I call PAP. We actually, it's such an extent correction. We correct something like 40 odd investors, ranging from strategic investors, angel investors, super angels, venture capitalists, private equity, even national wealth fund. So we have all grouped together, and this panel, I believe now, probably is one of the world's largest platform for private equity investment. They collectively managing over $500 billion US.
Oh my goodness.
So money is one thing. The other is, you consider a group, a network that collects managing $500 billion US. They will have a very big commercialization network.
Right.
So I believe this commercialization network plus the funding platform will help the ventures. And my students will work on those good projects that they have problem in raising money to present to this group of investors. And each time we are quite successfully to get the interest from, for each project we will have about, in general, average about 4 investors will be interested. And then we provide, we allow the student to help those ventures to raise money from the ventures.
Well,
From this investment panel.
Wilton, this is really, really high-level entrepreneurial education. I guess when Bee Leng and I came into to the studio, she was telling me a little bit about the profile of your students, and of course, some of the things that you talked about earlier on, trying to get the participants to remodel the business and then presenting it to different investors. It ties back into your initial topic or your point of view that you have to learn from your failure. But more importantly, I think you also is in a critical position to pull all these investors, students together. So it's just phenomenal and amazing that you're doing so much for the students or for these prospective entrepreneurs in Hong Kong.
Yes, because when we look at those promising venture which they can't raise money, because it's just one reason. Because when the entrepreneur look at their own business, it's sometimes very different from how an investor look at a business. You see, investors are very seasonal. They have seen as myself, they have a lot of failure. So when they failure investment, of course, when they look at those projects, when an entrepreneur present to them that, okay, this project can make that amount of money, in their mind they immediately think, okay, this project may not be able to go through certain execution hurdles. That's why when I teach my students that, okay, look at, okay.
Wilton, you've done, as I said, you've done a lot, and you've helped, I guess, prospective students understand all these executive hurdles. And I know that recently there was an article in the South China Morning Post about the course that you are teaching at the Chinese University of Hong Kong. I'm just curious, when you go out to talk to these VCs and angel investors to get them to help you out with, I guess, sharing their experience with these prospective students, what are some of the feedback that you have received from them?
You mean the angel investor or the entrepreneur?
The angel investors. When you go out and talk to these angel investors to come to ask them to come help sit at the panel to judge the students' work, what's the feedback that you've been getting from them?
Okay, they are more worried about the quality of the deals. Okay, first of all, because they don't really want to. They're actually angel investors, so they are actually want to invest. But they are looking for good quality of deals to invest, first of all. And secondly is, particularly for those angel investors, they are individuals. They are some of them are retirees, some of them are actually having their own work. So they are worried about what will be the workload they need to do on carrying the due diligence on the project, as well as post-investment monitoring. So that's most of their concerns.
Okay. Now, we're coming on our break, so if I can ask you one last question. You've met a lot of students, and I'm sure a lot of them are grateful to the things that they've learned from you. Any memorable experience from your interaction with all these students of yours?
Experience with the student or experience with the entrepreneurs?
Experience with, I guess, the students.
Well, for the student is in Hong Kong because a lot of students actually looking for the investment banking job. But after attending my course, quite a number of students actually now interested in venture development.
Right.
So they because in my course, some of the venture after the end of my course, they still continue to get my students to help on them on a part-time or full-time basis. So my students got opportunities to work on the models, work on the business they have been working for the last couple of months. Then they will see the seafood the process, whether the fundraising got rejected or success. Then at least they can get seafood the process. This is something they told me that they can never get it from their current job.
That's fantastic, Wilton. You're doing great work, and I do hope that when you come back to Hawaii again, we'll be able to sit face to face and do another interview with you.
Okay, that's the serving, right?
Well, thank you again.
Cannot just for the interview.
Yeah.
Well, my guest for the first break was Wilton Chua, and he is the Professor of Practice in Entrepreneurship at the Chinese University of Hong Kong. You've been watching ThinkTech Hawaii Business Education Spotlight. We're on our first break, so do stay with us.
Hi, Jay.
Hi, Keith.
My name's Keith Bettinger.
I knew that.
And I'm the host of ThinkTech Asia.
I knew that too.
Here on ThinkTech.
Fabulous. You got a great show going, Keith.
Thank you very much. And for our viewers out there that are interested in ThinkTech Asia, it airs every Tuesday from 4 to 4:45, and it can be accessed online at thinktech.com.
Yeah, so what kind of guests you like?
Well, we have a number of guests from academia, from practitioners of international affairs. Sometimes we have military officials. Sometimes we have public officials on the show. And our goal, we try to talk about current issues in South Asia, Southeast Asia, East Asia, and Central Asia, all throughout the Asian realm in more depth than you would find in traditional mainstream
That's the
media.
difference, isn't it?
Exactly.
That you're reaching out beyond what ordinary news media would do.
Right.
And that's why we like you so much.
We're trying to provide a thinking person's perspective, an intelligent perspective on what's going on, and we're both sides of the story, or even when there's more than two sides, we try to cover every angle. And I think that's one of the big benefits that we provide here at ThinkTech. Is it's a really innovative source of educational programming for the people of Hawaii.
You're great, Keith. You are a great host. You got a great show going on. I watch it every week.
Thanks very much.
Why don't you guys watch it every week too, okay?
4:45 to 4 to 4:45 every Tuesday.
Welcome back to ThinkTech Hawaii Business Education Spotlight. If you're just joining us, my guests today were Wilton Chua from Hong Kong, and he was with the Chinese University of Hong Kong in the entrepreneurship program. And of course, this segment right now, my focus would be on my second guest, Bee Leng Chua. She is the Executive Director of HiBeam, which again stands for Hawaii Business and Entrepreneur Acceleration Mentors, right?
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
having me
Bee
here.
Leng. I've always enjoyed talking to you, especially the last few months, and I know that you are very well known in the community. So you've done a lot. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about how you met Wilton, because I met him through you, actually.
Right. Well, Wilton and I, we go quite a while back when I was also with the Chinese University of Hong Kong. And we had just started the Center for Entrepreneurship. And Wilton came in, and he had, he was very plugged into the venture capital and angel investor community. And I would always kind of called him for assistance. And even when I came to Hawaii in 2007, we kept in touch. And each time when I bring Hawaii tech entrepreneurs to Hong Kong, he was always so he was always so helpful in helping me set up meetings for the Hawaii entrepreneurs to meet potential investors in Hong Kong. So I've always been very grateful for his help, and also because he is so well connected in Asia, I invited him to be the Asia advisor for HiBeam.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So he does come here once in a while then?
Well, actually, he has never been here except for last year, but it's but we've always met whenever I would go to Hong Kong, and when I bring tech entrepreneurs from here there, they would always have an opportunity to meet him.
Well, he's really very generous with his time and his sharing his experience, but I didn't realize that he is tapped into such a vast connection of VC, and he was just mentioning that he was even able to get somebody from Peru to participate in his program in Hong Kong.
Sure. Yeah, it's when he says that it's Pan-Asia, it's truly Pan-Asia. He has his investor network just goes all over and includes people in Malaysia, in Philippines, and in Indonesia, and of course in Singapore too, and in China. So so we hope that we can build something with him that would connect us with us in Hawaii with Hong Kong and Pan-Asia.
Well, I would certainly hope so, and with your experience and his experience, I think it will only benefit our potential or prospective entrepreneurs here. But coming back to you, Bee Leng, I mean, you've done a lot too, even though you said a lot of great things about Wilton. So how did you get involved in entrepreneurial education then?
Well, that was back in 1998 when I was the associate director of the MBA programs at the Chinese University. And I had brought a team of MBA students to take part in the business plan competition at the University of Texas, Austin. It was an international competition. And I would say that the students were dutiful, but not enthusiastic, because they felt like they were taking it as a course credit. But their experience over there, from meeting other teams from all over the world who were there to present their business plan, and the meetings with investors, and that whole experience of pitching and presenting really transformed them. And so they changed, and they became, I would say, they became evangelists for entrepreneurship. So I would say that it started when my students inspired me to see that they were capable of changing for the better. They were looking at how what they were learning in the MBA program could be applied to starting and running a business. And that was what we call an experiential learning opportunity. So with that part, the teaching part of it, I also got engaged in an international research consortium that we measured entrepreneurial activity all over, across like 60 countries, the early stage. And we found that one of the key factors in an ecosystem that would encourage or inhibit entrepreneurship was entrepreneurship education. And with that finding, two of my colleagues and I, we started the Entrepreneurship Center, the Center for Entrepreneurship at the university, and we've never turned back, because right now, if you look at the website of the center, they have just gone so far ahead, and I would say that they're now the leading university in entrepreneurship programs that's student-centered.
Wow. Now, coming back to Hawaii, I know that there have always been, well, I guess I've moved here about 8 years ago, and they've always talked about entrepreneurial spirits or venture startup companies, because we as an economy depend a lot on tourism and military, but that may not, well, we need to create something that would sustain us. So, and then thinking back on what Wilton was telling us about the courses he does, how does it differ in terms of the courses that he teaches in Hong Kong and what we can actually realistically teach our students and prospective entrepreneurs here?
Yeah. Well, actually, the University of Hawaii has been, they also have established a phenomenal program in entrepreneurship. But I would say that that Wilton's program kind of has an international dimension, which is that because he gets projects, he gets these entrepreneurs from all over the world. And these entrepreneurs, they want to get into the China market or the Asian market. And his teams of MBA students, they're able to kind of help the entrepreneur remodel their business plan so that they could get into the China market. So that has that kind of that international dimension, which I hope that eventually the students in Hawaii that participates in these business plan competition would also do. Because one of the criteria, I've been a judge for a few times at those competitions, and one of the questions I always ask is whether it's scalable and that it can find its way. They have a strategy for the global market. So that's that connection there, and I hope that eventually the students here would would have a bigger mission than just Hawaii and the mainland U.S.
Do you think the geographic location makes a difference? I mean, at the end, Hong Kong is right next door to China. The market is there, whereas we are so much more removed. But then, of course, everybody wants to do business with
Right.
China. So
Yes. Yeah, definitely the isolation, the geographical isolation is an issue. And there are no direct flights from many of the cities that are in Asia to Hawaii. But then I would look at the other side of it, is that if it's difficult for people to come here, then why don't we go out there and meet them on their own turf? Because after all, if you want to do business with them, you have to go there and see what their markets, what they're like. So a little investment of your time and your resources to just travel out there would be very beneficial. So although we're isolated, but it doesn't stop us from being world travelers and not expect, that's the thing about a tourism culture, is that you expect people to come to you.
that's a good point.
And
yeah.
so we're just sitting pretty here thinking that everybody should come to Hawaii. But that's not reality. The reality is that you also have to go out there and meet them on their own turf.
Now, I guess just from this small comment, I presume we're not doing enough of that than going out. Is that the case?
I would say so. I would say that there could be more. And I know that there are kind of resource constraints and all that, but I also know that there are programs that are done by that are offered by the department, by DBET, Department of Business, Economic Development and Tourism, that will provide them like a cost sharing, on a cost sharing basis of them being able to go to see other countries in the form of like trade shows, participating in trade shows. So there is support that's out there. But also, it also depends on how you budget, how you allocate your own resources to make the time to go out there and meet people.
Now, I forget, how long have you been with HiBeam then?
Yes, I've been with HiBeam since, I would say, 2009, 2010, around that time.
Okay.
So I was actually with the Hawaii Pacific University. I started the Entrepreneurship Center, and I had an opportunity to join HiBeam as the executive director to help them develop an Asian strategy for the portfolio companies as well as for the organization.
So in your past 5 years there, what changes have you seen? What are something, again, memorable for you just reflecting back on, yeah, I guess your position with HiBeam.
Yes, yes. I think as I haven't been here for a long time, but I would say that in the last few years, there's been this enormous revival and interest in starting businesses. They call it startup paradise, right? Which is great. But I would also want to kind of like go further, is that what is life? What is life like after you start a business? Because you have to sustain that business. And to sustain the business, you have to kind of make sure that all your management processes are in place. You have governance, you have the ability to raise the capital that you need to grow. You have to kind of be looking at the future and getting yourself looking organized and looking attractive to investors and customers alike. So that's where I think HiBeam comes in with the mentoring, that we can help you prepare for that, to meet that investor. So we hope that more companies, when they start themselves, they would think beyond just starting, because starting has its challenges. It can be very exciting, but growing and managing your company well, it's kind of a discipline, a disciplined activity, and I've heard from an entrepreneur that startups just want to die. You know, the minute you start a business, every challenge will come to you.
Right.
And you need to have that resilience to kind of keep your startup alive.
Right, right.
You know, unlike he calls it unlike a cockroach. Cockroaches, they just have a will to live. You know, I mean, you can whack them 10 times and they're still scuttling around.
Right.
So a startup should be like that. You know, every time you're hit, you have to kind of start up, get yourself up and run again, and just go as far as you can. So startups, you as an entrepreneur, you really have to be resilient, and you have to have this sense of optimism. And I think all these qualities are important, whether you're starting a business or running a company, or even working in an organization.
Well,
or even taking care of a family.
Yeah. Now, what was I going to ask you? It actually goes back to what you mentioned earlier on about scalability. I guess startup has to take on that next level of sustaining and being scalable. Now, I know that, well, actually, we are coming to the end of the show. So my one last question for you is, I know that you've done this for a while. You've mentored a lot of students, but recently you also had your HiBeam meeting, your board meeting. So moving forward, where is HiBeam going, and where are you as an entrepreneurial educator is hoping to achieve?
Okay. I would say that I would like HiBeam to be more immersed in Asia. So for the future, I would like to spend more time in Asia, and I use Hong Kong and Singapore as my platforms to help Hawaii tech entrepreneurs get out there. So I have to spend more time there building up these networks and getting more involved in some of the activities that are over there, and then connecting Hawaii with Singapore and Hong Kong. So it's not possible to do it when you're 80% of the time here. I need to spend like half of my time in Asia, and I think that's very exciting. So I just hope that Hawaii companies will be ready for that adventure in Asia, and will be able to use HiBeam as a launch pad to go to Asia.
And they certainly should, especially when you have so much connection there in Hong Kong and Singapore, and I guess that's where all the actions are, right?
That's right, yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I would like to go there and be part of that action too. And I know that Hawaii will benefit from that.
Wonderful, Bee Leng. Well, I look forward to hearing more about your adventures then.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on my show this afternoon.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks. My guest is Bee Leng Chua. She is the Executive Director of HiBeam, Hawaii Business and Entrepreneur Acceleration Mentors. You've been watching ThinkTech Hawaii Business Education Spotlight. My name is Alice Li Hagan. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Hi, I'm Jay Fidel of ThinkTech Hawaii. Won't you consider helping ThinkTech? We're a 501c3 Hawaii nonprofit corporation, now in our 15th year. Our model and very existence depends on ongoing contributions from our underwriters. We are very appreciative for their support. We're hoping you will consider becoming one of our ThinkTech underwriters. Unless our underwriters prefer to be anonymous, we publicize them on thinktechhawaii.com and on our daily email program, sent to some 7,500 subscribers, our live stream talk shows, and our OC16 productions. With help from our underwriters, we have developed a high-tech video studio in Pioneer Plaza, and we now live stream 25 talk shows per week, covering science, tech, energy diversification, community, sustainability, and globalism for Hawaii. And we stream our earlier shows all night long. Our live stream is on thinktechhawaii.com. Check it out. We also upload all our shows to youtube.com, where we get 18,000 views per month. And we broadcast 12 hours per week on Olelo 54 and 3.5 hours per week on OC16. We also do monthly luncheon panel programs at the Laniakea, and we write a monthly column for the Honolulu Star-Advertiser. We're really active. Our plans this year include improving the coverage, content, and production values of all of our programs, and including more issues and guests relating to the neighbor islands, either by Skype or in person. If you agree with our mission, I hope you'll consider helping us. If you have any questions about any of our activities, or if you'd like to discuss our underwriter arrangements, please write to me at j@fidel.com. I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks so much for considering this suggestion, maybe even including you among our underwriters. Mahalo, I'm Jay Fidel of ThinkTech Hawaii, and I approve this message. If you approve of it also, please give us a call.